Temperance means moderation, self-restraint, and balance in thought, word, and action.
So I always had the question growing up, why was coffee and tea excluded from the word of wisdom? It's brewed, and how is it that different people can get different pieces of advice, like herbal tea is okay, or maybe green tea is okay, but black tea is not okay? Welcome back to Rooted in Faith. I'm Ethan.
And I'm Nikki.
And today we are talking about the Word of Wisdom, Section 89 in the Doctrine and Covenants. This one is a little not controversial, but just bizarre, because I feel like everybody I've ever talked to needs some sort of clarification, or there's just some blind acceptance with it. So we wanted to do a deep dive on it. There's probably going to be 2 more episodes because there's so much packed in here, and there's so much that we could talk about. This one, we are only going to talk about tea and coffee, and that is literally just that much of it. But that's what we're going to talk about today. All right, Nikki.
Okay, so I'm going to go through a little bit of the history of the temperance movement, because I think this ties in with the Word of Wisdom and when the Word of Wisdom was revealed to us. So, the temperance movement began in the 18th century, and it was in Europe to begin with. And then people coming over to America, it traveled to America. So in 1808 in New York was some of the first societies began for the temperance movement. And then in the 1820s, it really gained traction in the U.S. with more national societies of temperance. So like the American Temperance Society. So it spread and grew. It also was, so this was kind of on the minds of everybody. It was pre-prohibition, but along the same lines. So
like 100 years pre-prohibition.
Yeah, that's true, because 1919 was the was when that was put into law, was prohibition. So yeah, it's quite a few years.
All right, so what is temperance, Nikki?
Yeah, so I think that's a really good place to start, is some definitions. So in the Word of Wisdom, it talks about prudence, and it's a synonym of temperance. So we looked up what the meaning of temperance was, and according to the Britannica dictionary, it is temperance means moderation, self-restraint, and balance in thought, word, and action, especially regarding the indulgence of desires and pleasures. It involves regulating impulses to make wise choices, and has historically been linked to self-control, moderation in the use of alcohol, and one of the 4 cardinal virtues.
Well, there we go.
I think it's really super interesting that that's the definition. And the temperance movement started in the 1800s, in the 1800s in the U.S., and people are meeting all... Wow. That would be our dryer going off.
It's a low-budget production.
Yeah, it is. We're working on it.
Looking for sponsors.
Yeah. So, again, I think this is a super interesting definition, because in the 1800s, a lot of... It wasn't just LDS. It was Christian denominations across what was the U.S., and they were really trying to live in a righteous way, and there was a lot of things that they were seeing with alcohol as a depressant, and causing the issues that it did, drunkenness. I mean, that's how it started in Europe, was because of the drunkenness. People were trying to get people to live more righteously. And they were also seeing the effects of the stimulants. And coffee and tea back then were probably some of the only drinks that were hot, and I don't think they had Monster or whatever
Yeah,
energy drink they had, but
Coca-Cola
like,
wasn't even a thing
yeah.
back then.
So
So your only drinks, you had water, milk, and then you had whiskey, beer,
mild barley.
wine. You had barley water,
Yeah.
or mild barley, and we'll talk a little bit about that because that's
Mm-hmm.
a really interesting thing. And then you also had coffee and tea. You had herbal concoctions, which are like tea. And this is the funny thing: every drink aside from well, milk and water is a brewed substance.
Yeah.
So you're taking water and then extra ingredients, and you're letting them sit, and you're pulling the nutrients and the flavor out of those extra ingredients, and then you're either cooking it or filtering it, and you're creating something, and that's called brewing. When you make oatmeal, if you make it a little too runny, kind of, I guess you brewed your oats a little bit. That's
You're kind of making like a soup or something.
Yeah, yeah. So, like brewed drinks, hot drinks, all of this stuff, it's all made pretty much the same way. So, I always had the question growing up: why was coffee and tea excluded from the word of wisdom? It's brewed, and how is it that different people can get different pieces of advice, like herbal tea is okay, or maybe green tea is okay, but black tea is not okay. But what about decaffeinated coffee, or what about iced coffee because it's not hot? And
Well, that's
what about
yeah.
matcha? Is that a tea? Nobody knows. Uh, that's the funny thing is it gets so convoluted. It's like, why was it written this way? And what is a hot drink? Well,
I think that's some of the questions I had
was it?
when I converted last year. Like reading the word of wisdom, I mean, a lot of it made sense, but at the same time, you're getting, even when some of the missionaries came over, I was getting differing
Oh,
information.
yeah.
And so I had a lot of questions, and I think going through this process of that we've done right now, going through word of wisdom, I think after a year, I think we've been able to kind of hopefully break it down to maybe be a more understandable.
So looking into this,
We
just
need a
recently, trying to
studio.
figure all this out, the missing information, the missing link for me in understanding the word of wisdom and really feeling grounded in the application and the wisdom part was learning about the temperance movement. I thought this was a one-off with the anti-coffee, tea, tobacco, alcohol. I grew up watching John Wayne movies. Never once crossed my mind that was bad for you or made you a bad person. So I never thought that any of those things would make you a bad person or had anything to do with virtue. So when when I'm trying to digest the word of wisdom, it's always struck me as odd as coffee and tea is not specifically named. It has a different name, hot drinks, and then I never could get a solid answer as to why was hot drinks interpreted as coffee, and why is that even bad?
What you're saying, like, I think is really interesting because over the years, it's had several clarifications. So, in 1842, in Hiram Smith's discourse that he was talking,
This was in the Times and Seasons, where that's where it was
yeah,
published.
yes, and so he actually defines that hot drinks meant coffee and tea. Like, he gives further clarification for this, and that the saints need to follow this as a commandment. Because in the beginning, the word of wisdom wasn't, it's not really a commandment.
It's a word of wisdom for the benefit
Yeah.
of the saints,
Yeah.
and it's not a commandment, and it never sat initially on the level of salvatory doctrine. This
No,
was
but
advice.
yeah. He's saying, like, you really do need to follow this and don't disregard this anymore. The saints still really aren't following it as they followed Brigham Young out to Utah. And then Brigham Young, he further says, like, no, you guys, this is something we really need to follow. And so over time, it became a commandment, really, in doctrine, that this is something you do need to follow.
Well, and that was something. Reading Hiram Smith's article in the Times and Seasons, his letter there, that actually made me feel way better, because just a mere 9 years. This was 1842. The Word of Wisdom was dictated and scribed in 1833. So this was 9 years after the Word of Wisdom, and it's needing clarification from the prophet's brother, or actually he was the co-prophet at the time. Hiram was in 1842. So it's needing clarification because people don't understand hot drinks.
Yeah.
And that's the part that he's clarifying out of the whole thing. And 9 years later, he's clarifying hot drinks. So it's for 200 years it has been confusing, and it needed a little bit of clarification.
Well, and I think that goes to follow that it's the restoration. So, like, it's evolving. And so over time, things can change. And in the restoration, it's going to evolve over time. And so having clarification is probably something that was needed.
Well, speaking of clarification, as we move through all this, because there's a lot of thoughts about it. Well, actually, let's recap. Temperance movement starts in the 18th century, or 1700s, in Europe, moves over to the United States, and this is post independence, pre-War of 1812. It moves over to the United States. So it is part of the public discourse, and it is part of everything going on in the United States, and it moves into various societies, temperance societies.
Yeah.
And so it's part of the culture there. People are thinking and asking, what should I be taking into my bodies, into my body, and what does it mean to be in self-control? Tobacco's out, alcohol is out, coffee and tea are out.
Yeah.
And why was coffee and tea out, Nikki?
Well, that's because that was the hot drinks back then. So
yeah,
that
but
was
why was it out?
The stimulants, so caffeine.
Well, under the temperance movement, coffee and tea were out because of the caffeine, and they were noticing the negative effects not only to the general population but to kids. They deemed coffee and tea, because of the caffeine in it, it was a drug, it was a stimulant, and it wasn't healthy.
Yeah.
And that's why the temperance movement banned alcohol, tobacco, and caffeine. Now, the only caffeinated drinks they had at the time, now we're not saying across the whole world, there's all sorts of naturally caffeinated types of teas and concoctions in different cultures, but in the United States, in Europe, you had coffee, you had tea. Those were your caffeinated drinks, and those were referred to under the term hot drinks.
Yeah.
Hot drinks wasn't referring to everything. It was just the caffeinated coffee and tea. Herbal drinks existed. Other brewed drinks like barley water existed. We're not talking about those, and the Word of Wisdom doesn't talk about those. No. It's the caffeinated coffee and tea. Matter of fact, chicory, which is a coffee substitute, I guess, it's a brewed drink.
It has no
chicory
caffeine
is
in
huge in France, as well as coffee, but those that didn't like the stimulating effect of coffee, they drank chicory. It was very, very interesting. But we kind of boil all these things down to just the basic black and white. It's just coffee and tea, and there's nothing else. Well, there's a whole diet back then, and it involved a lot of different substances, a lot of different foods, a lot of different drinks. Well, coffee and tea was hot drinks. That's what they called it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I think that's really interesting because even in like history class, I don't think we were ever taught coffee and tea were part of the temperance movement.
Oh, no.
I think it was mostly alcohol is what we were taught, because that leads into prohibition.
Right.
That's the main one people are really focusing on, and that's the one that gets put into law, and
Yeah.
not coffee and tea. But there's a lot of articles and some of these minutes from these meetings or pamphlets from these societies that talk about the detrimental effects of these stimulants on people and kids, and that it really should be avoided.
Yeah. Well, and it's almost surprising to me when these articles from that time talk about the harmful effects that they're noticing on children from coffee and tea. I don't think in today's age, if I gave a kid coffee, I would notice anything from before the coffee to after the coffee. Everybody is so hopped up on sugar, any kind of processed and preserved food. Like, do kids even eat oatmeal these days? I don't think they do. Cream of wheat, I grew up on that stuff, and that's about as basic as you can get. I don't think anybody eats that anymore, let alone anything clean. Everybody is so hopped up on preserved and salted and overly processed food and sugar, every other thing that you can just inject into your body. Point
I'm
is,
not sure.
I don't think, I mean, everybody's on energy drinks and all sorts of,
Yeah.
it's wild to me. Wild to me. Everybody in the society in the 1800s, early 1800s, could have a conversation about what these substances are doing to the general population and doing to the children, and have a conscious conversation about removing it from the diet.
Yeah.
And abstaining from it because it's the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Today, we can't even go throughout our day without our big gulp or our crumble cookie or some kind of inject this fat buttery sugar into my butt. Like, it doesn't. It's
Sorry,
not
that's
even the
funny.
same climate. It's not even. Back then they had like 6 items in a grocery store. Now we got like 60,000.
No, and I think
It's
that's
insanity. We
yeah.
wouldn't even notice it because we're so caffeinated. We've got
Yeah.
so many options for energy drinks. You can get caffeinated hot chocolate, not hot chocolate, caffeinated chocolate milk.
Really?
You can get caffeinated chocolate milk.
I had no idea they had that.
I know, it sounds great. Sounds
It could be
delicious.
good.
I bet it is delicious.
It's probably delicious.
That's the problem, is when we come down to the word of wisdom here. Is it just obeying the letter of the law? Coffee and tea are really all that it's about? Is that what Joseph Smith's talking about? Or was there some intent? And did he leave the door open for us to use our brains? Well, let's read it.
I think, yeah. Hit it.
All right, here's the coffee and tea verse. For anybody that doesn't know, it's that long. Coffee and tea is section 89, verse 9. And again, hot drinks are not for the body or belly. There you go. That's it. That's the controversial verse, and that's the one that for 200 years we've been pondering. Yeah. However, here's the better verse that you should read. We're going to reel it back to verse 4. Behold, verily, thus saith the Lord unto you, in consequence of evils and designs which do and will exist in the hearts of conspiring men in the last days, I have warned you and forewarn you by giving unto you this word of wisdom by revelation. That is what we should be plastering on our foreheads. That's what should be written on our checkbooks before we, as we swipe our cards at the grocery store. That's what we should be thinking about when we choose what to feed ourselves and what to feed our families here. In consequence of evils and designs which do and will exist in the hearts of conspiring men in the last days, I have warned you and forewarn you by giving unto you this word of wisdom. He's forewarning us about evils that do exist and will exist.
his revelation was for their time and the future time. So I don't think he was just limiting it to what was going on back then. Even
Yeah.
though that's when the temperance movement was happening, I think there was knowledge that there's going to be other things that come up that are going to go against word of wisdom in the future.
Yeah. Well, and it says strong drink in here as a synonym to like whiskey. Everybody knows what strong drink is. Every strong drink that's ever existed. Just because he didn't say gin like, come on. Just because he didn't say tequila doesn't mean tequila's on the menu. It's covered under strong drink. Well, when he's saying hot drinks, under the temperance language, it's very specifically meaning coffee and tea. But why? Well, it's because of the stimulating caffeine in it. That's why.
Well, in strong drink, it's the alcohol in it. It's not
Right.
the specific drink.
Right.
It's the alcohol in the drink.
It's not about the whiskey. It's about the alcohol in the whiskey.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's not about the wine. It's about the alcohol in the wine. Exactly. That's why. And just because it's not specific doesn't mean that's what it is. Now, I think we have two options when we read the word of wisdom. And you can tell me if you think otherwise. Option A, with regards to coffee and tea, is it means coffee and tea, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. If you
And
go drink a
caffeinated
caffeinated chocolate milk,
yeah,
that's fine, and it's up to everybody to decide what beyond coffee and tea they can put in their bodies because it's whatever. Or option B is, yeah, it said coffee and tea because that's what they had of the time that was caffeinated, but it means caffeine because that's the harmful substance that we should abstain from. How should we abstain from any of the things in the word of wisdom? With prudence and thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. Prudence is the same is a synonym of temperance.
Yeah.
And thanksgiving. We should be thankful for these things. We should be doing these very thoughtfully and in control, and not as an indulgence of desires and pleasures. That's the difference. Are you damned if you go take a Catholic sacrament and you drink some wine? No, absolutely not.
No.
Did you even break the word of wisdom?
No.
No, I don't think so. I don't think Joseph Smith thought so. If you're out with your lady friends and you order a virgin margarita and the waitress mixes it up and gives you a regular one, are you going to hell? No. No. You're fine. But if you can't put down the 5-pound bag of gummy bears, yeah, there's probably a problem there. If you are drinking 6 Red Bulls a day, there's probably a problem there. If you can't make it through your workday without going down and getting yourself a Mountain Dew or a Pepsi or a Coke Zero or whatever it is that you indulge in, that's probably the problem.
Well,
that's a thought.
Yeah. I think I just always go back to like my animal science background in nutrition class. And when you're building a ration for animals, it's a balanced ration. It's laid out for all the nutrients for that animal that it needs. We don't, just because they like corn doesn't mean we feed them all corn. Like, it's going to be a balanced ration. And so when I think of human nutrition, we're trying to have a balanced meal or a balanced ration for our diet, and it's going to be in moderation. And then I think there's some things that, like the word of wisdom, it's telling us that we need to avoid these things to keep our body clean. Our body is a temple also, and the Lord is trying to give us that information so we can be more righteous and more clean. And I don't know, the President Boyd K. Packer had a really good quote, I thought. He said, "I have come to know that a fundamental purpose of the word of wisdom has to do with revelation. If someone under the influence can hardly listen to plain talk, how can they respond to spiritual promptings that touch their most delicate feelings? As valuable as the word of wisdom is as a law of health, it may be much more valuable to you spiritually than it is physically. Keeping this commandment can help us have the Holy Ghost as our companion, so we can receive revelation and progress on the path toward eternal life.
Yeah. Yeah. There are a lot of addictive substances. And this isn't even getting into the new ones with screen time and social media and all of that type of addiction, which of course they didn't have in 1833.
No.
But what does President Packer say? He says, if someone under the influence, he's not saying drunk and he's not saying stoned, he's saying under the influence. Now, if you're under an unholy influence of carnal and mortal desires of your food and your consumption, yeah, it is hard for the Spirit to dwell within you. Mm-hmm. And I think this is not an LDS doctrine. This is a Christian doctrine. Yeah, the LDS religion, we do have a specific chapter to it in our Doctrine and Covenants. Yeah. But if you were to go talk to any priest or bishop or pastor about indulgence and moderate consumption, you're going to find some very similar answers. I think this is just wisdom.
Yeah. Even the beginning of the temperance movement, it was across denominations. Christian people, like this was them trying to live in a more righteous way. And so I think the LDS Church was just ahead of the curve a little bit by putting it into doctrine. But across denominations, I agree with you. I think this is how somebody should hold themselves and keep their body clean.
Yeah. Now, as far as how to practically apply this in your life, not everybody, and this is why it's always been controversial and it's always been hard and it always has needed clarification. Everybody is from different backgrounds and different cultures and different upbringings and they're in different circumstances. You know what? If you work on a sailboat in the 1800s and your rations include coffee, by golly, by all means, drink your coffee. You know, of course, this is Ethan talking. If you're crossing the frozen Mississippi and you're headed west in the middle of winter and you got rations of coffee to drink, a hot, stimulating coffee, by all means, drink your coffee. You know that if you're a lineman working on the gas pipes or the electrical infrastructure in this country, and you're out in the elements, and you want to drink some coffee, well, fine, drink some coffee. Do it with prudence, because I'll tell you what, my sedentary lifestyle and your sedentary lifestyle probably doesn't require caffeine. It probably doesn't. Just like most of our sedentary lifestyles, it's all built around indulgence and pleasure and comfort. What necessity is there in our nicotine and caffeine and alcohol? And I mean, we're stimulating ourselves and depressing ourselves, and we never find that balance.
Yeah.
Let's just find the balance.
I think even before, like, we started going back to church and I converted last year, we were drinking a lot of coffee, and I'm not so sure it, like, really, you get used to it after a while, and so
I don't think it did anything for me.
It really did anything after a while. It was just a habit.
You know, and this is back to just personal, anecdotal things. Years ago, while I was inactive, wasn't going to church, didn't care to go to church, I gave up soda. I really did. I loved Mountain Dew. That was my thing. Liked it out of cans better. It had to be cold. But I gave up Mountain Dew, and I lost 20 pounds over the next couple months when I stopped drinking Mountain Dew. And I just didn't drink soda, and I still don't drink soda to this day. It's probably been like 8 years I've given up soda. And yeah, that was tough because you crave it. However,
Yeah.
I did drink coffee and no sugar, no cream, just black coffee, and I enjoyed it. That was, and even to this day, like I love the smell of coffee.
I do
To me,
too.
coffee tastes good. I don't do the sweet palate stuff, and so I kind of like the bitter earthiness of it. I don't care though. My life's not built around coffee. I don't have to drink coffee. It's not a
Yeah.
requirement for me to do anything in the day. However, there are alternatives. We talked about chicory earlier, dandelion
The
root as well.
dandelion root. Yeah.
I haven't tried the dandelion one. I've tried chicory before,
Oh.
and it's like similar to coffee. It's not terrible. You can spice it up the same ways. You can put cream in it.
But there's no caffeine in it. It's
There's
naturally
naturally
not.
no caffeine.
Yeah.
Also, there are some new methods of decaffeinating coffee. The old method was pretty chemical intense. They'd wash it through. You're gonna have to edit this to clarify. I believe it's ethyl acetate. She'll
Yeah.
put it up on the screen if I said the wrong chemical. I believe it's ethyl acetate. It it pulls the caffeine out of the beans. Now, my dad always used to say that that was the same chemical that they used to embalm dead people. I have no idea, possibly, but it's not healthy for you.
No.
The new method is so you can edit that out if you don't want me talking about dead people.
It's fine.
Yeah.
I don't care.
So the new method, you have a Swiss water method where they essentially just creates like an instant coffee where it just dissolves into water, but they wash the coffee with water, pulls out like 98% of the caffeine. It's pretty dang good.
It's a little healthier method.
Yeah, and it's kind of a natural method. And then there's another method where if you ferment sugar, it creates its own like ethyl acetate type chemical.
Yeah.
Just naturally though. And you wash your beans through it, and it creates more of a natural coffee, but it's the caffeine's removed. So there are options if you're a diehard coffee person, but you're interested in the whole temperance and word of wisdom. Well, is caffeine really needed? Do you need caffeine in your diet? Do you need a stimulant? Do you need a drug in your life?
After we've eliminated our energy drinks and stuff, I really don't think we needed them.
Oh yeah,
we've
tried them all.
You
There are so many out there. There's so many, and I started drinking energy drinks in middle school. Of all, yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah. Well, especially when you play sports and like it's just a cultural thing, and it's unhealthy, and we don't think anything of it.
Wow.
We should probably wrap up our rantings here.
Yeah.
Well, bring us home, Nikki.
Okay.
What's the Cliff Notes version?
Well,
if someone skipped to this part just to learn what it was too long, didn't read.
TLDR.
Yeah.
So the temperance movement started in the United States in the early 1800s. Joseph Smith had the revelation of Word of Wisdom in 1833. Hiram Smith clarified coffee and tea in 1842. Emma Smith was involved in the revelation of the Word of Wisdom. She had some thoughts about tobacco and its use, and then the Relief Society also followed some of the temperance movement, and so later after that, Joseph Smith had the revelation of Word of Wisdom. So it was further defined, clarified. Brigham Young and Joseph Fielding Smith furthered it by making it more of a commandment and doctrine that needed to be followed. And eventually it became something that's part of the questions on being able to go to the temple, or like if you're following this and making sure your body is clean.
Yep.
So the definition of temperance, which is synonymous with prudence, which we find in the Word of Wisdom, And temperance means moderation, self-restraint, and balance in thought, word, and action, especially regarding the indulgence of desires and pleasures. It involves regulating impulses to make wise choices, and has historically been linked to self-control, moderation in the use of alcohol, and one of the 4 cardinal virtues.
Yep. So how do we apply this word of wisdom to our daily lives? I'm going to reread verse 4 for you guys. Behold, verily, thus saith the Lord unto you, in consequence of evils and designs which do and will exist in the hearts of conspiring men in the last days, I have warned you and forewarn you by giving unto you this word of wisdom by revelation. Take it for your own interpretation. These are our ramblings and thoughts about the word of wisdom.
It's
hot drinks means coffee and tea, and coffee and tea was that hot topic of the day along with tobacco and alcohol because it has caffeine.
The stimulating properties of it.
Caffeine probably shouldn't be in our diets in any form unless used prudently. And there's other things we're going to dive into with the word of wisdom in the next episodes, but let us know your thoughts. Like, share, subscribe, leave us a comment. Tell us how wrong you think we are. Just type with both hands. Put your big gulp down. Close up your bag of gummy worms. Whatever it is you're hopped up on, get it out of your system. And then, shoot us a comment, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.